Hello, everybody. My name is Henry. Tonight we're going to talk about a place in the Midwest that years and years ago became cursed, and is still cursed to this day. As you can see in the photo, that's not my coloring. That was taken off Google Earth, and that shows where all the curse is. That shows up on Google Earth. That's nothing to do with me. I didn't do no color or anything like that. But anyway, long, long ago, early 1800s, there was a woman in Haiti. Well, she got caught up in the slave trade. Now, they'd caught a lot of other slaves that day, but they come upon this great, big, huge, giant tree. She was living inside of it, hid in there, and she was in there making some kind of concoction, but they had one of the other slaves speak in her language and get her to come out. When she come out, they threw a bag over her head, burlap sack to be exact. On the ship she went, along with the other slaves, but all these other slaves were scared to death of her. Well, the one that spoke to her to get her to come out of that big tree, they chained him right beside her on that slave ship. On calm days when there wasn't no wind, they'd sit down in the ship's hull and they would actually row the boat with boat oars. They had them chained together. Then there was a long chain that run down one side of the ship through each one of those slaves' ring on their wrist. Same with the other side. Well, periodically she'd be over there mumbling. Now this slave's eyes were brown, dark brown. Before they got to New Orleans, that slave that was chained beside her, his eyes started changing color, getting lighter and lighter until they were a pale, milky blue white color. He wasn't scared of her no more. Whenever they done chain him, take him off the ship, it was like she had him under the spell, like a zombie. Well, that stirred the rest of the slaves up. They put him up on the auction block there, right in front of the courthouse. And when it come to those two, that old woman started mumbling, and she cast a spell on that auctioneer that day. And he began to sell, was saying these two are to be sold together because the man slave is strong, but he don't see. And this woman's supposed to be his interpreter, so we got to sell the pair together. Well, while she is up there and standing on the crate, him and her, there was a rich man out there, a rich white guy, wealthy man. You could tell by the way he was dressed. So she cast a love spell on him, sitting up on top of that crate. Nothing doing. It started out $100 for the pair of them. Then the price jumped to 200. And that guy kept yo yo. Eventually, that price jumped up to $1,000 a piece. That's 2,000 for the both of them. Where everybody else was like, hell, I can buy 4 or 5 slaves for that. But this guy bought her, her and the male slave. They walked them over to him, and he looked them all over, and She was kind of a younger lady. She was kind of slim, long black hair, wavy, small in stature. So he walked with them over to his carriage, and the man got on back of the carriage, and the woman got up in the front with him. And he goes, "Do I need to chain him to the wagon?" She's like, "He won't leave my side." "What relation is he to you?" "He's my servant, and I'm his eyes." Well, he was smitten with her because of that spell. Everybody knew that she'd cast a witchery on him. They didn't dare say nothing because he had a lot of money. He come from the England like a lot of people and come to Virginia and then ended up down in New Orleans in the slave trade. He didn't know what called him there, but it was probably that old witch. Well, they traveled back to his plantation there in New Orleans, and they stayed there for a time. And he had a priest come to his home one day and marry him. And he told her, he's now we got to keep this a secret because otherwise lynch mob will lynch you and me probably, and probably burn him at the stake. Well, people started getting kind of nosy, and he sold that old mansion there and headed north. First, they took a riverboat up the river, took the Mississippi, and cut off into the Illinois River, and they ended up there in the upper Midwest in a small area, rural area, and they was way back away from anybody. They figured that further away they were away from people, less questions. They could be more free about their love. Well, he got talking to some local people, and they told him there was a big giant farm there off the main road. Well, he took his two servants with him, one being his wife. They took that trail back off in there and looked around. And they walked the whole entire property. He said, "I'm going to build you a grand house." He did. He built a 3-story mansion. It even come complete with a big widow's peak up on the top, where they could go up there and look out across their farm. See, there they called it farm. They didn't call them plantation. They called them farms there. Well, nobody understood because there was just the white guy, his wife, and this blind black Haitian. Well, they needed hands to work. They weren't going to hire any of the locals because they would start running the trap. And next thing you know, their business would be out and they might catch some heat over it. So that black woman told him, she said, "I'm going to lay down with you. When you go to sleep and wake up in the morning, there'll be 5 or 6 slave hands here." He was like, "Well, how you going to do that?" And she goes, "I got my ways." That night, she gave him a drug to go to sleep. Her and that guy loaded up. They went and found somebody to sacrifice. Well, she worked her magic, and sure enough, come morning, there were 5 slaves chained out there to a tree. So they had got their mansion done. Took a long time, but they got her done. Well, she got talking to him, and she goes, "We need more slaves, but now we can only bring in 5 or less at a time because otherwise people are going to wonder how in the hell we're getting these hands here." So over the years, she kept bringing in 2 a night, 3 a night, 5 a night. Every time she'd do it, they'd take off and go find a sacrifice to these demons to create them basically some zombies to work the field. Well, several years had passed, and now they got like 50 of these slaves. But people started noticing whenever they come by to visit, say hi. Some of them slaves had part of their nose cut off. Others had one eye blinded. Some others might have both or one ear missing. And there was even a few that had their tongues cut out. But people started whispering. Well, rumor was if a slave started talking to another slave about private things, she'd cut his tongue out. And the one that was listening, she'd cut his ears off. She put them on a string and wear them around her neck. Same way with the tongue and the part of the nose. Nose meant they was eavesdropping through a door or through a window. So to teach the other slaves, she just cut their nose off for being nosy. Well, them slaves are scared to death of her. The guy was like, "How do you get them to do all this work?" She goes, "Magic." Well, he was totally enamored with her because of that spell. So they got more and more livestock and planted more and more crops. And if the crops got bugs or had a bad year, whoever the slave was that was the head slave master out there in the field would get one hell of a beating tied up in front of that big mansion there in the front yard. It happened again. He was a sacrifice, and that she'd pick another one to take his place. Well, then she started conjuring up female slaves. Well, them male slaves, they was getting restless. Got to calm the natives down. So they started making little houses for each one of them, and they're growing families because they started having families. Well, she was real strict with them, but she doted over her husband. Well, she was everything to him because he had that spell put on him. They would take off and go to places like Paris, France, and different places. And every time they would leave, they'd take one slave and make him over all the others, including the ones that took care of the house. Well, she made sure he was trustworthy. She put a spell on his ass too. He was loyal to her and him, but mainly her. Every time they had traveled, they'd bring new furniture back, new curtains, or something new to put up in the house. she'd bring stuff for those slaves and servants. Well, like I said, something went wrong. Hell come down on somebody. Like I said, they was scared to death of her. They knew that you better walk the chalk, or you be out there tied to that tree getting a whooping with no knotted plow rein or a whip. She took great pleasure in it. I mean, it was almost lustful with her. So they tried to be good. Well, there was a natural lake straight back behind the house there. Late at night, there was a couple of them slaves that were her personal servants, men and women. She'd give a spell to that husband to put him to sleep. She'd go back there and practice hoodoo, like they do down there at Lake Pontchartrain. They go back there and skinny dip and do rituals. Sometimes one or two of their animals would be sacrificed back there, and she always had an excuse. They'd be hung across the fence, like I got caught in the fence, and the dogs got a hold of it when they were done with it. Well, they had fruit trees, they had corn, beans, wheat, hay. Their farm just kept thriving. Well, after the Civil War, they were told they had to get rid of their slaves. And she goes, "They're not slaves, they're servants. I pay them a wage." So they said they were going to check into it, and if she was lying, she'd be brought up on charges and have to forfeit the land to those servants. Well, each one of them servants got up and said, "No, we get paid." So she made sure she started paying them. But they'd try and have to give the money back to her if they wanted to live and keep their mouth shut, or they'd be missing a tongue and she'd be on her necklace. Well, things kept progressing. They got fruit trees and all kinds of stuff. Everybody else was kind of scraping to get by. These people never seemed to scrape to get by. They was always wealthy. The new change didn't change nothing for them. And they was still traveling abroad, different places. She had this big black carriage with a big black bonnet. The trim was decked out in gold, and she had two black horses that pulled that. And this thing was long. I mean, you could have put a casket in that thing. Well, just up the road, probably about 2 miles, you can see this big, giant, huge oak tree. And there's a fence around it because now they farm all the way around this small cemetery. That was one of the many hang trees. Well, when she couldn't find a victim, when she was accumulating these slaves, men and women, her and her servant go up there and pull a body out of there and offer that up. Well, they would hang people and just bury them around a tree. Well, on their property, there was another big oak tree, stood for many and many years, dead as a doornail, but never rotted. And sometimes those slaves make her mad. She'd go out there and throw a rope up in the tree and have those others grab the end of that rope. She'd slide that noose over their head and around their neck, pull it tight. She'd have them start backing up until that person in that rope was standing on his tippy toes. And she'd leave him there for overnight, knowing that you get off your tippy toes, no matter how bad a cramp you get, you're going to strangle to death. She was very deviant, but she worshipped the ground her husband walked on because she conjured him. Now, the thing about conjuring love like that, or a love spell, it can go terribly wrong in many cases, in many ways. Well, she thought she was so high and mighty that karma never come back and bite her in the ass. Well, late 1800s, 1890, 1895, somewhere around in there, her husband said that he was going to go to the auction and for her to just take it easy. Well, her arrogance got the better of her. She knew she conquered him. She knew she put a spell on him. She could not stand the idea of him making a decision or doing something without her, that she didn't influence it somehow. And she goes, "But I want to go." And he goes, "But I don't want you to go. Stay here." But she just knew he was going to go run onto some white lady and she was going to be out there in them fields. So she worked up another love spell on him, one even stronger. Well, he proceeded to get on the horse and buggy and headed to the local auction. But she'd put a spell on him. He got about halfway there and that spell kicked in and he turned them horses around and come back. She was waiting for him. She said, "Now, what are you doing back?" And he goes, "I just can't stand to be away from you." Well, they went in and started hootie doing. For those of you who don't know what hootie doing is, that's making love. I call it hootie doing because any little ones around, they won't understand what I'm saying. Well, they hootie dooed all night long. That night, he slipped her a Mickey. She went to sleep. Later the next day, late day, she woke up. She found a little bottle that that pill was in. She was fit to be tied because now he's doing to her what she was doing to him. And again, she feared he took off and found him a white lady or maybe another black lady. So she gets up, gets dressed, and puts her bonnet on, and downstairs she goes. She's running through the house frantic, wondering where is he at. Well, him and a couple of those slave hands was out there, and they'd been working on digging a well, and they'd hit black mud or blue mud, whatever you want to call it, which meant water is right below there. But she come a hollering and a screaming about she was mad as hell. He was down there, him and a couple of slaves, and they was filling buckets, and the other slaves was pulling the buckets up, pouring it out, and then lower the buckets back down. She peered down that hole and she goes, "You son of a bitch." And he's like, "What? I ain't done nothing. I've been down here working. You wouldn't been sleeping." She goes, I know what you did. And he goes, well, I just figured you needed some sleep. So she told them slaves to grab that rope and told him, you step in that bucket and get your ass up here. I'm going to talk to you. Well, they pull him up the top side and he steps out of the bucket, crossed the curb there, and they walked down by the barn. He goes, I'm going to tell you something right now. Love you with all my heart, but I'm going to tell you straight up. I know what you've been doing to me. That shit stops. I don't care about anything else, but I just done to you what you did to me. I don't know what you've been up to, but the shit stops. No more shit on me. That's it. Well, she agreed verbally, but not in her heart. But she was real good for about a month or two. And she went right back to her old tricks because she had to go down there and in order to keep things flourishing, she had to keep doing spells and working her hoodoo. Well, the other part of that is it was said that she would conjure up a demon and hoodoo do with him. Well, one night she mixed up a pill and put it in his drink, going to put him to sleep like she always had. He switched glasses on her, but he was so in love with her before she drank it, he knocked it over and he poured her another one. But he pretended to go to sleep, grabbed the slave, and down toward the lake she went. He waited a few minutes and he followed. He got down there. There was all these torches around the lake and all these servant slaves back there, and there she was, naked as a jaybird, like old Ethel Streaker, dancing wildly around a big giant fire. And then all of a sudden, a dark shadow appears. Great big long curly horns, clove hooves. He walks up there and throws his robe off, and from the neck down, he's built like a man to the waist, but then it's like goat legs and goat looking head with them big spiral looking horns, black. Well, she bowed down to him and he picked her up and they danced naked around the fire together. And the next thing you know, they was hootie doing. When they got done, he handed her a broom. The guy was watching through the weeds, but she took that broom and looked like she was sweeping. But every time she'd flip what looked was supposed to have been dust, big fireballs would come out and go out in that lake. That was a compliment from one of these demons. And she was supposed to use that if she ever needed it. That was a weapon for her. But it would serve purpose too as sweeping in case anybody didn't know any different. Well, she was dabbling a little bit of everything. All of a sudden, the demon fades into the night. The fires die down. The slaves get dressed. She gets dressed. And they start heading back. That guy takes off running and get back to the house before her and get back in bed. He's mad. Well, he grabbed his gun, crawled in bed and laying there, but he forgot to take his clothes off. When she come up those stairs, She looked over there on his side of the bed on the floor, and his clothes wasn't there. His boots were. So she took that broom, she swept toward that bed, and one of them fireballs hit that bed. Well, he come out of that bed, started running around the room, and she was sweeping them fireballs at him, trying to put the fear of God in him. The only thing was, one of them fireballs got too close and went through the window, bust the window out. And the guy went to put his hands up. He fell out backwards out that window, and hit the second story, and then hit the ground, dead. So she tells them other slaves, get him in the house now. Take him upstairs and put him in bed. She thinks she killed him. He's just in a slight coma. But she noticed his eyes start blinking. So she decides that if he gets better, he's going to kill her. Probably take and kill her right there on the spot. That night, she gathered up those slaves, and they put him on a makeshift cot and carried him back there to the lake. She offered him up to this demon with the big horns. The demon accepted. Well, they have to get rid of the body, so they throw it in the lake, anchor it down with a big giant boulder, make sure that body don't float. That night, when the ritual was over, they all went back home. The only problem was, when she got home, he was sitting upstairs in the corner of the room with the light off in a chair. When she opened that door, all she seen was two big red eyes. She reached down and lit the lantern, and there he sat. I made a better deal than you. She goes, what do you mean you made a better deal than me? You shouldn't even be here. He should have carted you off to Haiti. He goes, but I made a better deal. She goes, and just what would a better deal would have been? He goes, you're going to find out tomorrow night. Go where you may, go do what you will. Tomorrow night, he's coming for you. She grabs her broom. The only thing is, her broom ain't working. He laughs at her. He goes, I told you I made a better deal. He stripped you of all your powers. I offered you up. You're going to be the new whore of the demon. I hope you like it. I know what you were doing back there. Now she's furious. She goes and grabs her spell book. She's looking through there and grabbing herbs. He goes, they ain't gonna do you no good. You might as well just wait for your medicine. Well, she decides she's going to run out of the house and try to leave. All the doors go shut and locked. And he goes, there ain't no escaping. You got the whole day, whole night, and all day tomorrow to think about what you did. And he goes, I know you put a spell on me. And he said, I also know you put a spell to have me come and save you. He said, but there ain't no saving you no more. Well, she's frantic trying to do this spell and that spell, and nothing's working. It's like she's bound. That's exactly what the demon did to her. He bound her. She could do no harm and she couldn't flee. All she could do is sit there and stew in her juices waiting for nightfall. Well, she's got one more trick up her sleeve. She goes up to that widow's peak. And that guy follows her. And he goes, "This is going to be your cage until nightfall." He nails that door shut. She's up there just cursing the land, cursing him, cursing the slaves that won't come and help her. He gets tired of listening to it, and those slaves down there get tired of listening to it. And that guy had always been good to them slaves. They got tired of listening to him, afraid somebody's going to hear, so they pulled the nails back out, went up the stairs after her, caught her, and cut her tongue out. Put her back up there, screwed the door shut. Nails. Come that night, here come this big black swirling cloud come back from the lake. It come up through the wheat fields and up that old road. It got to the house, yard gate open. It come through, yard gate slammed shut. The door blew off the hinges, and this thing come right on in the house. This big black looking dust, wispy smoke looking thing. It went up the first flight of stairs, round the landing, up the next flight of stairs, round the landing, and right up to the widow's peak. Door got blew off the hinges. This thing went right up there after her. In the same way, it come down, round the landing, down the stairs, round the landing, down the stairs to the ground floor. Then right out where the door had been, right through the yard gate, headed straight back on that old dirt road, old wagon trail back there through the wheat field and cornfields and back to the lake. That smoke and her, that demon, went right straight into that lake. That lake lit up like fire. People could see it for miles. The big giant ring of fire. Well, next day, that guy's sitting on the porch, and all the slaves come up there and sat. And he goes, just because she's gone, don't mean we can't make a go of this farm. So he made a deal with them. He said, "I'm going to chunk this land off, and each one of you get your house, piece of property with a garden. Give you a couple, each one of you a couple pigs, a couple cows, some chickens. If you just help me until I get so old I can't do it no more." Well, they all agreed. They were tickled to death. They worship him. But remember, she conjured those servants up, and she conjured him. But he thought he escaped her wrath, and so didn't they. They was thankful as hell. A couple years had passed, and all of a sudden one night a big thunderstorm come up. Before the rains come, this big black wall of looked like dust, smoke, come from back there by the lake, covered the whole entire property. The man woke up. Something just didn't seem right. He looked out the windows and toward the cabins, and they're all running around headed toward the big house. Well, they reached the door and opened. All of them come in, and they're hollering for the master. He come running downstairs, putting his coat on. What's going on? What's going on? They said, it's the curse. That dirty bitch cursed us and this land. She she is the devil's whore. She's coming for us. They're circling the yard. The guy run to the window and looked, and this dust was like a big wall going around and around the yard. As far as you could see, was this big black swirling cloud of dust looking smoke stuff. The house went to rumbling. Dishes shook, pictures on the wall was falling. The piano started playing on its own. The stairs started buckling and the shaking and the bouncing. But they're trying to seek shelter away from this paranormal activity, demonic activity. But each room they go into seems like it follows them in there. Pictures on the wall start shaking, floorboards start clattering. The piano's playing wildly in there. Then all at once, just like that, it stopped. Got deathly quiet. There wasn't nothing. No hoot owls, no nothing making noise. All of a sudden, while they was all huddled in a corner there, trying to hide, the door blew off that house, right off the front of it. They could hear something coming up each step onto the porch, then across the porch, through the threshold, straight across the floor, down the hallway, and each step, clack, 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 sound like somebody riding a horse in the house. They started panicking. It's that demon with the cloven hooves and them big horns. It's all black. He's coming for us, master. There's nowhere we can run. Remember what you told your wife? No use running. I guess we'll just stay here and meet our fate. Then the giggling started. This demon was laughing all the way up them stairs, taking his slow, sweet time. When he got to the bedroom where they was hiding, the door blew off the hinge and he ducked to come in through the door, and on his back was a lady from Haiti. Lady from Haiti was riding his back. And she goes, I told you all. You all thought you'd get away from me? You may have made a better deal, but I made a sweeter deal. I may be his bitch, but you all are his sacrifice. And with that, that house literally torched itself. They all burned up in that mansion. It burned all night and through the next day. When the dust settled and the smoke, the heat, all there was just a big giant black spot that covered that whole property. Not just the house, the whole property. That black stain is still on that land today. I took the picture off Google Earth to show you the proof that that stain is still on the earth there today. No matter who moves in there, there's been several killings there. Husband and wife moves in. The wife goes to cheating. The husband kills her. Another man and woman moves in. The husband gets to cheating. And the woman kills him. And like I said, there was a big, huge lake back there. People would just walk there and just walk straight out into the water till it went over their head and drowned. They never could figure it out. Kind of like the place in Rock Falls. Just and the thing was, it wasn't like these people was having some kind of problem. They would just walk from wherever or drive, park, get out, walk back past where the old house used to be, back to the lake, straight in. Well, years have passed. Many different families moved in there. A lot of people drowned in for no apparent reason. The crop never done very good there. It still don't. 'Cause this woman put a curse on it, and that demon helped boost that curse because she become his bitch. The whore of the demon, whore of the devil. Don't know what ever become of that lady. She probably went back down to Haiti, still being that demon's whore. Lots of things happened there. In the mid 1940s, 1950s, a high roller come to town, not far from there, and he bought that piece of property. He was going to build his wife a mansion. People tried to tell him, don't build on that same spot. Go out away from there. Nothing doing. He built a mansion there, and then the funny thing is, he built a mansion there that looked identical to the one that sat there before. Well, a couple years passed. He mysteriously vanished. Then his wife mysteriously vanished. Then another couple moved in and had kids. All the kids ended up down in that lake back there. Those two went out to the barn, set a step ladder up, threw a rope across the beam, and hung themselves, kicking the ladder out from under themselves because they couldn't take it. Their kids had drowned back there in that lake. Well, then, a few years passed, and a guy I know, him and his wife and 5 boys, against everybody's best advice, they moved in there because the rent was cheap. Oh yeah, it was cheap, all right. They started experiencing all kinds of shit in that house. During the day, it was like that farmhouse I lived in as a kid, calm as could be. But by the time the pole lights started coming on, it was a total different story. No matter what he'd done, that yard around that house at nighttime was pitch black. He even installed a light on the shed there that they turned into a garage. The light bulbs would just shatter, or the electricity would start flickering for no reason. Wouldn't even be a storm. And whenever there was a storm in that area, that property always caught the brunt of it. tornadoes always touch down right there by that property. Seem to go all the way across that piece of property and just pick right back up and take off. The land was cursed. During some storms, a hailstorm would come with it. The surrounding properties never got hit with hail, but there would be softball and baseball sized hail hit the crops on that piece of property. Never tear up the house, but would ruin the crops. And finally, those people that owned it quit trying to farm it. They just put it in government layout ground because you couldn't grow crops there. Well, one night, this guy, he was a drinker. He liked to party. I won't say he wasn't. He was a party animal. He'd leave his wife and kids at home and he'd take off and go tear up the town. Kind of like my dad left us in that haunted house. He did the same thing. He'd come home and she'd be telling him what all was going on. And finally, she got tired of things happening in the house and going out there sleeping in the vehicle, her and them boys. And she told him, she goes, I'm going to tell you right now, I know you're hungover, so I'm going to be quiet, calm about this. One more trick, I ain't going to divorce you. I'm going to put you 6 foot under. Well, this lady was pretty calm, but she put up with it long enough and she had tired of it. He knew she meant it. So he decided he better walk the chalk. He said, you can have your beer at home, drink all you want. But you out there carousing, leaving us here to fend for ourselves against whatever's going on here, and we ain't got no place else to go. Everything went real good for about 2 weeks. One night they was laying in bed. That woman's body levitated off the bed and went straight up to the ceiling, and there she is, trapped on the ceiling. He said he don't remember waking up, but he woke up and was sleepwalking, and he'd never sleepwalked before. He went down those stairs, through the hallway, into the living room, out the door. When he got out to the yard gate, he opened it, turned left, back to the old barn. He found him a big hay rope in there, threw it across the rafter, grabbed a step ladder, climbed up on top of it, the rope around his neck, kicked the ladder. There he was hanging by his throat, and all of a sudden he come out of whatever daze he was in, and he was kicking. He was trying to scream, couldn't get no breath. He had his hands in the rope, trying to keep it from squeezing his throat shut. He is a kicking and a scrambling, but there ain't nothing for him to reach. He's about 3 foot off the ground. Well, whatever hold that demon had on that lady, he was aiming on killing this guy. He released a hold on that woman up against the ceiling, and she fell and hit the bed, bounced a couple times, jumped up, run down the hallway, got the boys up, and started running outside, and she noticed the barn door was open. And there was this circling, spinning cloud of dust headed back toward that barn. And now these wasn't religious people, because I knew them real well. She got in that old car, got the boys in there, and she started that old thing up. It was a 3-speed on the column. She pushed that clutch in and she gunned that car and started grabbing gears. She had no clue her husband was in that barn, but the door was open and there was a little light in there. And they headed straight for that barn, right to that swirling cloud of dust, right straight through them doors, and there her husband was hanging, kicking, gagging, trying to get loose. She jumped out of the car, climbed up on the top, grabbed him around the waist, and she's pretty stout. She lifted him up far enough that he could get that rope off, and he hit the ground like a sack of potatoes, gagging, trying to get his breath, puking, eyes burning, throat burning. He jumped in that car with her. They never looked back. They never went back for nothing. They left everything. That night, they went to my grandma and grandpa's house and spent the night there. And right up until this man died, he had that rope burn around his throat. A lot of people knew what happened, so they never asked him about it. Right up till he died, he had that rope burn around his throat. He lived around that area for a few years. But he never went down that road and never went back to get anything. Several years have passed, and that place burnt to the ground again. When you use Google Earth to look at this place, that big black curse still stained that land. And it's really funny because I was hoping that I could find a picture of that house to show everybody, but I couldn't seem to find one. There's probably one around someplace, but I did take the picture today from Google Earth, and you can see how the ground is shaded. That's the stain. That's the curse. That property is cursed. The lake don't exist there no more. Several years ago, the last people bought it, pretty rich. They were big farmers, and they'd heard the stories, and they decided to fill that lake in and just say forget about it. Too many people were dying. There never was. Nobody could ever come up for a reason, but those demons get greedy, and they always call for a sacrifice, just like up there at Rock Falls. So to stop all that, they just filled it in and left her set. But it didn't relieve the curse. Ground, land still tainted there. Can't farm it. Can't really do much of anything except for let it lay in government ground and just get paid to leave her set. During the time they was filling that lake in, there was a couple of bad accidents that they never could explain. This one crew went in with a D9 cat. They went in there with some earth movers, old paddle wheels. And they was gathering dirt out of the side fields to fill that in. For whatever reason, the guy running the old paddle wheel put the brake on, emergency brake on, parking brake, left it running wide open, and that paddle wheel was still going, like it was still wanting to pull dirt in. But the guy climbed off, and they don't know why in the hell he done it. There was a couple guys. There was the bulldozer run, the guy that run the bulldozer, and there was a couple guys running trucks, and they was sitting there watching for him to get filled up. He walked back there to that paddle wheel climbed up over the tire, jumped in. Well, that old paddle wheel just chopped him up like mincemeat. Well, they got that paddle wheel out of there and picked up whatever they could find to him. A few days later, guy running the dozer, whatever reason, nobody really knows. That dozer caught fire, burnt that guy up. Those guys driving the truck like, fuck this. They left. It eventually got all filled in, but there was lots of tragedies. Something did not want that lake filled in. It was still wanting sacrifices. Now, this place really does exist. This is a true story. It really did happen. And like I said, that photo that's up for the cover, that's a real photo from Google Earth, and it's not been colored or tampered with. I even showed my wife. It's not been tampered with. That's the way it looks because it's cursed. Don't know if there's really any way of removing that curse. I know there's probably got to be some way. If you can put a curse on something, you can surely remove it. But that's above my pay grade. Besides that, I got enough problem with my handlers trying to get their hands on me or whack me. Or like the other day, trying to send a warning to me about keeping my mouth shut. Be dealing with any kind of cursed land. But if you feel froggy and you got a hankering for the cursed land, you might be able to get that real cheap. God help you. Unless you're pretty powerful and can do away with that curse. So anyway, there's tonight's story. Curses can be a powerful thing. And in her case, she become a whore of the demon. She ensured it would stay cursed for years and years to come. Been lots of tragedies there. So tonight, there's one more place that's cursed. Just like up there at Rock Falls in Sterling. Sacrifices were involved. Those make for the most powerful curses right there. So if you're out looking for land, go check out the land. Go and check it out. Different places. Go talk to the police department. Go talk to the local people in that area. Go to the historical society and look up about a piece of land you're looking into. See what kind of history it has. Or you could end up with a piece of property like this and like up there at Rock Falls. Don't do that to yourself. It's one of those things that people jump before they think. Myself, if I was going to buy a piece of property right now, I'd be digging everywhere. I'd be digging into libraries. I'd be digging into historical societies. I'd even go talk to the local police. And I don't like cops. But I'd go talk to them and see if any weird shit happened out that way. maybe particularly on this piece of property or in the vicinity. Talk to some of the local people around that area. It's one of those things that you can never be too cautious. Sure, it takes a little bit of legwork, but is it really worth you mistakenly buying a piece of property that's cursed or that's had lots of accidents on it? If it's had lots of accidents, start digging. See if they was really accidents or was it something else? It's so easy to say, well, there were just lots of accidents, bad luck there. Yeah, that's what you want to call it. Or was it something else in the play? Do you really want to take the chance with your family like that? I love my wife to death. I wouldn't put her in jeopardy like that. Not just because I wanted a piece of property and was too goddamn ornery to go check into it. I'd be so guilt ridden if something happened to her because I didn't go check. I'd live the rest of my days in misery. So, like I said, before you jump on a piece of property, go do some digging. Talk to the local people about it. What do you know about that piece of land up here I'm wanting to buy? There been any kind of weird accident, death, unexplained death, anything? What's the worst they're going to do? Laugh at you? If that's all somebody ever does, I wouldn't worry about it. But it might be a thing, but they might tell you, hey, there's been some strange shit going on. Then you go talk to somebody else and they say the same thing. Yeah, two people can talk back and forth and plan that. But people keep talking like that, and then you go and check that at the Historical Society and you find out there's been some weird shit going on. How can all that be wrong? Well, there's your one to grow on. You think about what I said, and just know that there is cursed objects, cursed people, cursed properties, cursed houses, even cursed. Anything can be cursed. Pets, vehicles, heavy equipment, trailer trucks, bulldozers, you name it. Anything can be possessed or cursed. You know, there is shit in this world that can't be explained by science. It can't be explained by those douchebags in Washington, D.C., other than it's just bad mojo. Our world's not what they've told you. It's far from it. And when you've lived as long as me and seen some of the stuff I've seen and witnessed and been through, you'll come to realize we've all been lied to about what our world really is and what all's in it. Not everything's bad. Even some things that you see that when you see it, it scares the shit out of you because you're not used to seeing it, whether it be a shapeshifter. Not all of them are bad. Same way with Bigfoot, Dogman, they're not all bad. But it's like everything else, whether it be white people, black people, Chinese, Vietnamese, Indonesian, whatever. There's good and bad in all cultures, all walks of life. Just like the same thing with the Bigfoot, Dogman, and these other creatures. There's good and bad. There's always a yin that goes with a yang, and not everything's bad. But when a place has been cursed, trust me, you don't want no part of it. If you're lucky, you'll get out of there with your life. Not everybody's so lucky. So keep your wits about you. If you enjoyed tonight's show, give me a thumbs up. Maybe leave me a message. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. It just helps the channel and helps me. I'm not getting paid for none of this. I do it because I enjoy it. I mean, I've worked all day out here painting the house, sweat my ass off, had swamp ass most of the day, but I enjoy doing this. It's like an outlet for me. Sometimes I tell true ghost stories like tonight. Sometimes on my channel I talk about the projects, what I went through there. Or I even tell ghost stories over there that are true, things that I know. So I hope you enjoyed it tonight. And if you ain't here tonight, maybe whenever you do watch it, give me a thumbs up. And thank you for watching. And I'm going to get off here now and have me a big old cigarette. Even though I know doctors, they say they're bad for you. But then again, I told them walking across the street's bad for me too. I go out here and smoke, that's going to cause cancer, they say. I said, well, when I cross that street, I might get hit by a big old fucking Mack truck. So it don't make shit what I do. But I'm going to have a cigarette anyway because I enjoy them. It keeps me calm, keeps me from blowing a gasket sometimes, keeps me on pretty much an even keel. So I hope you enjoyed tonight because I enjoyed telling it. And there's a lot more to come. Guarantee it. I ain't done by a long shot. But I do enjoy telling these true ghost stories and true things that happens. I just hope you enjoy hearing them as much as I enjoy telling them. Thank you and good night.